Okay, so yo, oh my god, all right, that chapter. Oh my god. Okay, so full disclosure, this video might end up being more of a reaction than actual review. Okay, so that chapter, yo, dude. All right, so that chapter completely put on his head, like turned on his head, my expectations for this week's review because like oh my okay. So I went into this chapter thinking that we'd be going back to the Noel and Jack fight because we set that fight up forever ago, and then we still haven't got the payoff for it. We still haven't gone back to it. We still don't know exactly what's going on between that fight, how exactly the two of them are working together, and I figured that's where we'd be going back to, and then going on to this whole demon fight. Because I knew eventually we were going to have the fight between the Lich and the demon. I knew that was coming. We all knew that was coming because of course it had to happen. The two of them have too much history together. The two of them have too much like kind of bad blood between each other in order for it to not happen. But I figured because of how long ago we set up the fight between Jack and Noel versus Fauna, and since we haven't seen a single scene or a single panel of that fight since we set it up, like I want to say like 10 chapters ago, I figured we'd be going back to that. Okay, so we start the chapter off and we see a demon heading towards the door that leads to the outside of the castle. Which the second I saw that, I was like, all right, we're gonna see the demon for a little bit, then we'll go back to the Noel and Jack fight versus Fauna. Then we see Lich. We see Lich standing there in the demon's path, like literally just ready to fight. And I almost spit out my drink when I saw that part. I was like, holy shit, things are about to go down. And it did not disappoint. The second the two of them start talking, we see that Lich is still a little broken, like he's still not all there. And the demon actually explains it. He explains it the fact that Lich's soul is kind of like fractured. It's kind of like broken right now because of the fact that, and he does clarify in this chapter, or at least in the translation I read, that Lich actually was the one who summoned the Great Demon King back in during the Elves Massacre. So there's no questioning that anymore. He actually did some of that. I think I might have questioned that. I want to say 4 or 5 chapters ago when we started getting more information from this demon. I questioned whether or not Lich actually was the one who did it. But yeah, now we have full confirmation he was the one who did it, and because of that, Lich's soul isn't fully there anymore. But he's still there enough that he knows that the demon's the one who's behind everything, and he has to stop him. So the two of them start fighting, and it's actually as epic as you think it would be. Now in the fight, Lich is obviously at a disadvantage because it only has the one sword. And at first, it actually looks like Lich has the advantage because the demon's throwing attacks at him. Lich is very easily dodging them and deflecting them. In fact, one attack he even deflects back, and even though it seems like the demon blocked it with one of his own spells, we see in one small panel, which honestly I think should have been a way bigger panel than actually it ended up being, we see that the Lich actually managed to knock off or like cut off a good portion of the demon's head. Now, what's really interesting during this fight is that we see that Lich is very clearly using the demon dweller sword, but I could have swore I had to go back and check, but I could have swore that the sword he actually stole from Asta was the demon slayer sword. In fact, if I remember correctly, 2 or 3 chapters ago, they actually mentioned that it was the demon slayer sword that Lich took from Asta. So that's kind of a little inconsistency. I don't know. I'll have to go back and check. Maybe we'll find out some. Actually, no. I was about to say maybe we can find out that Lich has the ability to like make the blade shrink, and that's the reason why it looks different. But even uses the abilities of the demon dweller sword in this chapter. So I'm not sure if this is basically just about it, basically forgetting the fact of which sword he had Lich steal back from Asta, or maybe this was just like a translation error. Like I said, I'll have to go back to the chapter where Lich actually steals the sword from Asta in order to check to make sure it actually was the demon slayer sword and not the demon dweller sword they stole. But anyway, as soon as Lich actually finally lands one attack on the demon kind of just stops playing around and he actually uses physical attacks, which, because of the abilities of the demon dweller sword, which is, like I said, Lich is clearly using that sword in this fight, it puts him at a disadvantage because the sword only has the ability to absorb magical attacks. It can't absorb physical magical attacks. So the demon basically uses some kind of like black goo to bind Lich down and then tries to attack him with a giant spear. And that's when fucking Charlotte, now it's actually the elf inside of Charlotte who's basically controlling her body at this point, but Charlotte shows up and uses her own magic to deflect the attack away from Lich, saving his life. And then not only that, and then it even gets even more epic 2 panels later, because right after she has a quick conversation with the demon, basically declaring that she's going to fight him instead, that's when Yami shows up and is like, yo, I'm throwing my hat in the ring too. So you can understand why I'm so excited by this chapter, because we started off with the big epic fight that we all figured was going to be like near the end of the arc, which is a fight between the Lich and the demon. Then we throw in Charlotte and Yami tag teaming against the demon for the rest of the chapter after that. Like, they free Lich, but he doesn't really help out in the fight for the rest of the chapter. It's just the two of them teaming up. We can see the two of them actually working very well together, despite the fact that the elven side of Charlotte doesn't really like Yami at all. I mean, you can honestly argue that it's Charlotte influencing the elven side of her to basically work together with Yami so well, because Charlotte does have a real connection with Yami, and the two of them are kind of friends. So that would explain the reason why they can work so well in this chapter together. And the two of them actually work so well together that they actually managed to land a good hit on the demon, cutting off his, I want to say, left arm and left wing. But because, like we said earlier in the chapter, that the demon actually got part of his head chopped off, and then in the very next panel, it was all there. He was fine again. Honestly, this is, them cutting off the left arm and left wing is not really gonna do much. But with Lich actually on their side, I feel like they actually have a pretty decent chance of winning this fight. Not to mention, we already know that Nozel, Mimosa, Patry, and Asta have to be on their way to that fight. Now, who knows what the fuck's gonna be happening with Rades and Valtos at this point, because we know they were kind of lingering in the shadows in that area, but we still know that they are on their way to that fight, so something's gonna go down. And also, just quickly, because we mentioned Nozel, I want to mention, because earlier on, as soon as Yami joins the chapter, he mentions that he knew Nozel was going to the other source of power, which we all know was Patry, so he decided to chase the other one. That was completely ballsy of Yami to do. I mean, seriously, the second I read that part, I was like, yo, Yami, you're strong. You're probably the second strongest Magic Knight that we have currently active. But there's no way you sense this demon's power and thought, hey, I'm gonna go chase that thing by myself because I could probably take it. Like, there's no way, because there's no way Yami thought he had any backup going into this fight. He went after this source of power alone, thinking, I'm gonna fight this thing by myself. That's pretty ballsy. So we had a fight between the three of them versus the demon, and just when you think things can't get any better, we get to the end of the chapter where we see Finral. He's knocked out. He's having some kind of like dream about women basically throwing themselves at him because of how hard he worked during this arc. And then we see Nero fly up and peck him on the head to wake him up. And just as Finral's waking up, he's like, Nero, what the fuck are you doing? Nero fucking speaks. So yeah, the bird, the character who's pretty much the biggest talk throughout the entire series when it comes to the fandom, because everyone, always, no matter what happens, no matter what's going on in the series, the conversation always ends up going back to what is going on with Nero. Like, what is Nero's true identity? What's his abilities? Like, what is the whole purpose of Nero? And now it seems like we are finally getting into that. Now, I could spend like the next 20, 30 minutes just talking about what possibilities we could be going to with Nero, like what's going on, going over the fan theories and all that. But it's currently 3 o'clock in the morning right now. I mean, I'm on a little bit of an adrenaline rush because of how hyped this chapter was. But I want to just quickly edit this video, upload it, and then go to sleep. So I'm going to do that, and maybe sometime next week I'll end up making another video talking about what's going on with Nero, looking at some fan theories, talking about them, and maybe coming up with my own. But as of right now, I'm just going to go to bed. But that's pretty much it for the chapter. Now, I do want to mention quickly that the one thing that Nero does say to Finral is to take me to the demon's bones. So obviously, whatever's going on with Nero has to do with the great demon that Lich summoned during the massacre over 100 or so years ago. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what ends up happening with that. But yeah, it's pretty much it for the chapter. Like I said, this was so fucking epic of a chapter. Like, I thought last week's chapter was pretty cool. I thought the chapter before that was epic. This one takes the fucking, like, I can't think of one chapter that is more badass than this one. But yeah, it's pretty much it for the chapter. It's it for the review, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below your thoughts and theories, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.